All right, hello, welcome everybody to Heady, Vermont's digital online town meeting day coverage. I am your host, Eli Harrington, and we are here in the beautiful Jam Creative Studios. We're being produced today by Sean Simonetti. Sean Simonetti, very talented local guy who makes all of this possible. You guys can see the elaborate setup that we have going in this studio. This is all Sean, and we do work with him and outside people as well. So Livestream is something that you're interested in. You see this great setup. We get a lot of good feed up thanks to Sean, and we're happy to put you in touch. So want to get those thanks out of the way because we have got a big day. Today is a huge day in Vermont politics, town meeting day. Some people have off from work. A lot of us do not. I say us because I'm working, if you call this work. We have a great time doing this. But town meeting day is a good day to focus on politics locally here in Vermont. And it gives us all a chance to kind of step back, get away from the rest of our lives, and think just about politics. So we are going to have a live call-in component. That's something that I'm really excited for this show. And again, thanks to Sean, we figured out this technology, and thanks to our Google overlords, it is free and easy to do. So you guys see the number, it's 802-391-0549. We're going to do that starting at 12:25. We will run through some Vermont political topics, and that's going to be a great chance for you to call in. So if you're somebody who's a patient, a caregiver, an advocate, an activist, you're going to be live, so we're going to ask you not to swear, incriminate yourself or other people, all just the basic things that we deal with here. But we are going to have a live call-in. So once we get done with this, we'll go over there, we'll start taking calls, and we'll run through some of the big issues. I wanted to start with town meeting day. A few reasons. I went and voted today, as you guys can see. If you don't have one of these stickers, does it really count? It does. And one thing that I noticed, the Bill Doyle survey, I don't have a copy of it here. You guys can see it on the Heady Vermont Facebook page. It does not ask about legalizing marijuana. The Bill Doyle survey, it's an informal poll that's been done across the state forever. I think Vermont just turned 239. I think Bill Doyle's been doing it for at least 200 of those years. But this year's survey did not include the question of legalizing marijuana, a marked difference from things in the past and a sign of how things have changed. Town meeting day, I want to talk about this a little bit for what's happening this year and then preview at the end town meeting day for 2019 because it's going to be a whole different ballgame. And marijuana, cannabis, hemp, all that, you might be talking about this at town meeting day. You're really going to be talking about it in 2019. In the short term, there are some bills that have come up. Actually, one that's gotten national news that might be a topic for you to discuss at your town meeting day. It might be something that you already did discuss at your town meeting day. The question is whether the smell of cannabis could be considered a public nuisance. So this means that you are in your apartment and just like your music is too loud and your neighbors call the police, theoretically, your weed could be too loud. If it smells to the point where your neighbors call the police as a public nuisance, you could theoretically get a ticket. Even if you have permission to smoke in your house from your landlord, even if you own your house, the way that bill is written, it gives your local government the ability to pass this law. So I believe the bill is called 819, maybe it's 816, we'll check that. But this is making national news. And it's something that you can talk about at your town meeting day. It's something that might be on the ballot next year at your town meeting day. But I want to clarify that bill that's got a lot of people kind of freaking out and got Vermont in the national news. That bill would give your town permission to create that restriction. There are laws where there are certain situations where local law cannot supersede state law. But typically in Vermont, local governments have the ability to pass special taxes and ordinances. Theoretically in the future, that might have something to do with licensing and zoning. Your town could say that if we're going to have a dispensary in our town, we want an extra tax on top. They're going to have the right to do that. We'll talk about that in the 2019 update. But for now, the public nuisance law that people are talking about, bring it up at your town meeting. Talk about maybe how ridiculous it is. If you are somebody who's a homeowner, can you imagine smoking in the privacy of your own living room and your neighbor, maybe they smell it, maybe they think they smell it, maybe they just don't like you because you play loud music. or have people over that they don't like, and they say that this smell is a public nuisance. So keep that in mind. That's an issue for town meeting day that we're going to look at this year. If it's something that's come up at your town meeting day, again, you can go ahead and call in. The number is there on the screen. It's 802-391-0549. So once again, we're going to get into all of this stuff. I'm going to go move and sit down at the fancy desk here so we can start taking your calls. So again, whether you want to talk about saliva testing, medical marijuana, or hemp, I'm going to talk about all of these things, and maybe you get inspired. We don't have call waiting. We're not screening. It's not going to be a huge queue. You're going to call that number. It's going to ring, and I'm going to put you on. So with that being said, I'm going to kick it over now. Do we have that pre-roll ready to go? We want to pop that in?
Right now.
Okay.
It'll be like a couple minutes.
Okay. So we are going to mix in we'll mix in a commercial break at some point because we've got some beautiful footage, the grinders that we always talk about and that we show you guys. We've got a little bit of footage. So we're going to throw that in, give you an up-close look, and actually keep adding a little bit more production to this. So let me go move back over to the Heady, Vermont Command Center here at our town meeting day, production studio. I'm going to move back over there. Like I said, the number is on the screen, 802-349-0549. Hit the phones, and let's talk. All right. Phone is on. Good. All right. And I've got the headphones. So that means if you call now, you are going to get to go live with us here on the Heady, Vermont live stream. So, oh, I see phone ringing already. Okay. I'm going to open it up here, and I would like to start out, as you saw on our board, we've got a couple different Vermont political issues on which we can update. One of the biggest ones that's getting a lot of attention is saliva testing. You guys can see on New GrassRoots, we have actually got a campaign going. It is live. I will share that link with you. If you're sitting around today and you are thinking about maybe you've already gone to vote, maybe you haven't gone to vote yet, but it's a great day to be involved in local elections, local democracy. You can use our New GrassRoots link right now. The campaign is live. So you can use New GrassRoots, you can get on here, and you can actually record a message and send it to your local senators. The campaign is up for saliva testing, and it is now moved from the House to the Senate. So we have got 30 total senators in Vermont, depending on where you live. If you're here in Chittenden County, you've got 6 of them. So I'm going to call all 6 of these senators, and I'm going to do it using the New GrassRoots campaign. Since I have all of you guys here, we might as well, right? So let me go ahead and pull it up. You guys can see this. It is on Facebook. It's on Heady, Vermont. I'm going to drop the link in just so that everybody has it, and you guys can take a look. And while we are waiting for our first call...
We have the ad, too.
The what?
We do have the ad up for...
Oh, cool. All right, well, let's do this. Let's do a call on New GrassRoots, and then we'll run our ad, and that'll give folks a chance to call in. So right now, as you can see, the campaign that's live is Oppose Saliva Testing as a violation of civil liberties. So using this link, you can again click on the Call Now button, and as you can see in the video, have it on there, it will actually bring you to the call. Now me, because I am the moderator of this, I actually need to log out from the organization page and sign in as an individual. You're not going to have to do that. You can just go right there to the campaign. So, and again, as an individual, you can share this campaign with your friends, and it will actually track. I will give you, as I'm logging in here, I will give you an idea of the calls that we generated last week. You guys might have seen this go through already, but I do want to confirm, you may have seen on Twitter, I left a message for my representative, Clem Bissonette. I saw Representative Bissonette today at my local polling station, and I thanked him for reading my message. I can tell you that we have got only 1/3 of the voice messages that you have sent have been opened. So if you're wondering about whether your representative has received your message or not, feel free to send me a message and I will tell you individually. I'm not going to broadcast the specific numbers, and I don't want to I'm not going to put representatives on blast just yet, but if you use this campaign, we can tell on the back end which person's calls have been listened to and responded to. I want to give a big shout out to Brittany. She drove a bunch of calls. She was active using the website, signed up. I saw her sharing it as well. So I want to thank you very much, Brittany, for sharing this. And a shout out to everybody else who might be more on the introverted side and wants to use new GrassRoots. So again, before we start taking phone calls, I want to do this. I'm going to go through with this with Senator Tim Ashe, President Pro Tem. I'm here in Chittenden County. I'm using this right now. And actually, we have audio for the phone, right? Yeah. So people can actually listen to my call. Beautiful. All right, this is next level. So, New GrassRoots is calling me right now, unless this is somebody from Fairfax. Hello?
You are calling VP State Legislator Tim Ashe to oppose Bill number H.2.3.7. Begin recording your message after the beep. Click the pound button when finished.
Hello, Senator Ashe. My name is Eli Harrington, and I'm a constituent here in Chittenden County. I'm calling you today on town meeting day to let you know that I strongly oppose H.237. It was a House bill relating to saliva testing. I think this is an overreach of our civil liberties. I think the technology is unproven. It will result in costly lawsuits, and that it is completely unnecessary. I have emailed you and will be happy to do so again, but I want to thank you for your time and hope that you will oppose this bill and say no to saliva testing and stop this. Thank you very much. Have a great town meeting day.
Press 1 to send your message. Press 2 to listen to your message.
All right, so just like you guys would do at home, I'm going to press 2 to listen to it, just to make sure it doesn't sound
Senator
too
Ashe. My name is Eli Harrington, and I'm a constituent here in Chittenden County.
Okay.
I'm calling you today on town meeting day to let you know that I strongly oppose H.237 as a House bill relating to saliva testing. I think this is an overreach of our civil liberties. I think the technology is unproven. It will result in costly lawsuits, and that it is completely unnecessary. I have emailed you and will be happy to do so again, but I want to thank you for your time and hope that you will oppose this bill and say no to saliva testing and stop this. Thank you very much. Have a great town meeting day.
All right, so I think
Press 1 to send your message.
That's about as good as it gets. So I'm going to press 1 to send my message.
Your message has been sent. Goodbye.
My message has been sent. So there you go. You guys saw me go through it, and now you can actually hear it, what this sounds like when you use New GrassRoots. A big shout out to Ben, New GrassRoots, and to Kathy Bloom for helping us get this set up. She is kicking ass with everything Heady, Vermont, including our advocacy. So thank you, Kathy and Ben. We're actually making this happen. So I really hope that you guys use New GrassRoots. If you're going to make a phone call, if you're going to get involved, you might as well know that somebody is listening to it or not. And if you have used New GrassRoots and you want to know if your message has been listened to, what happens when you record your message and deliver it? You will get an email that says that your message has been delivered, and then you'll get another email that says if your representative has listened to it. So if you got the first email but not the second, they got it, they haven't listened. But we'll see. Maybe throughout the course of this live stream, Senator Ashe will hear that message. I suspect he's probably pretty busy today, the Burlington polls. But I'm going to go ahead and do that again. You can see you can contact another legislator on here as well. So I could literally just go through and next go to Senator Virginia Lyons and deliver this. As I'm talking, I just got an email that says, "Hi, Eli. Tim R. Ashe now knows you oppose H.237. We'll immediately notify you when your voice has been heard. Listen to your message here, where you can also share on social media." Thanks for letting us be a part of your participation in democracy. Let me know what you can do better. Awesome. New GrassRoots, congratulations. That was very cool. So we'll give you guys updates on that. Again, I dropped the link in here, and it is now time to start taking some phone calls. It's 2:34, 2:35, so we're going to go ahead and open it up. I would especially love to hear if we have any medical patients out there. We talked a little bit about saliva testing. The call to action is the Senate. Your state senators need to know. They're the ones who can kill this bill, the saliva testing bill. And honestly, it's going to take some political work to convince them to do that. Before we do that, like I said, if you are ready to call in, this would be a good time. Before we do that, we do have a special message. As you guys may know, we have a great partnership with EASO Goods. They have made these beautiful stainless steel grinders that you've heard us talk about. So we'll go ahead and show you those right now as we line up some calls. Call, and then you can just switch over after, right? Okay. Hey, what's up, buddy? You're not live yet.
How's it going? Yeah, no, you guys are pro with the cut to commercial. Very nice work.
Let's see. All right, we are switching back over. We are now live. We have got our first caller on the line. If you want to share your first name and where you're calling from today.
Hey, Eli. My name is Nick Carabellis. I am calling from Vermont. And I am the CEO and founder of Green Mountain Consulting.
You sure are. And Nick, I'm pumped to talk to you. We've been talking a lot lately about the New England Cannabis Convention, NECAN, happening here in Burlington. You with Greener Mountain Consulting, Tim from Vermont Cannabis Solutions, Monica and myself. Really happy to be working with Mark. So I wanted to get that plug in there because we get to talk all the time privately about NECAN. But I want to talk to you a little bit as an individual, as a patient, and what's kind of going on, your read on Vermont politics, saliva testing, medical, and as somebody who's in this business.
Well, so it's sort of, that's a lot of ground to cover. And
it's true.
I'll start with the saliva testing. I think that's pretty simple and cut and dry. I do urge everybody to contact and get involved at the political level. This is the sort of legislation that legislators really will leap to a conclusion on. And there are some gross misunderstandings about testing, how it works, what a level of impairment is. As many people may know, 5 nanograms a milliliter is what is considered a standard of impairment. Mm-hmm. That came out of Colorado's Amendment 64. One of the authors of that amendment said that that number was pulled out of thin air. And if they could go back and change that, they would do so.
Well, and Nick, I think this is the big, one thing that we've talked about a lot that you hit on immediately is that saliva testing is measuring the presence of a molecule, in this case, in your saliva, right? It has nothing to do with how impaired you might be. It has nothing to do with how you are driving. By the time you're getting a saliva test, you've already been pulled over.
You've already been pulled over.
You've already made the decision to get in that car. And I don't know, did you have a chance to listen to the interview that we did with Professor Milburn?
Unfortunately, I did not.
That's all right. It's a good chance for us to plug it again. I will drop it right in there so everybody can check it out after. And
it's still on there, and I can catch up on my homework.
And actually, we can all download his app, the Druid app. It's going to be some fun experimenting. You have to get a baseline first, but it's actually available on the App Store, and he's got some technology that might actually measure the impairment. So
I read about it. I just did not watch the segment. And I think he's headed in the right direction. As far as using an arbitrary number, that's not to say that somebody who is under 5 nanograms a milliliter wouldn't be impaired, possibly.
Right.
It's just an arbitrary number that really was selected out of thin air. In Colorado, they don't use it as per se evidence of impairment, so that means that it's not you're automatically guilty, as it is with like a DUI. if you blow over a .08 in, I believe, all 50 states, some have different levels, that's per se evidence, and you're automatically, that's evidence of guilt. In Colorado, it's taken as evidence and can be used against you, but you have to go to a jury trial for them to convict you. Washington and Montana treat it as a liquor law, basically, and if you test at 5 nanograms a milliliter, you are impaired without question. And there are 12 states that have zero tolerance.
Right.
So you get caught with any amount of THC in your system in those states, and you're eligible for all of the fines, penalties, license revocations, and fun stuff that comes with that. And all with the beauty of knowing that that number has absolutely no bearing on your impairment or lack thereof.
And again, by the time that that's happening, something has already
happened
right?
to cause them to pull you over.
Well, and Nick, you're clearly a knowledgeable guy about what's going on with policy, and I want to ask you about medical. We're paying attention to Bill S-216. We're waiting to see what the House approach takes. This is a bill that would do a lot of different things. But I guess I kind of want to get a sense of what's your take on the state of medical in Vermont, and what are the top priorities for you as far as what laws we can change that would benefit patients and caregivers?
State of medical marijuana in Vermont, for lack of a better term, is impaired. The current system is not, it was clearly not originally drafted by patients nor cultivators. I'm sure there were the consultations here and there. It's very difficult to remain compliant as a patient as the system is written. Now we have the bill legalizing recreational cannabis, which part of me thinks is a great thing. But then you start running into issues. So say, for example, I am a patient in the registry. My wife is not.
Mm-hmm.
We own our own home. She is not allowed to cultivate those two legal recreational plants for herself because she cohabitates with somebody who is a medical patient.
And this is the crazy part about this, the idea that legalization for everybody, I mean, knock on wood, I'm very fortunate I don't qualify for a card myself. But the fact that your wife would be punished for you being a registered patient, it would be a lot easier not to be a registered patient, right? It's not exactly easy to do.
And that leads kind of to the next point of discussion that seems to be going on within the medical cannabis community here in the state. Why bother keeping the license? There were a lot of people, I did a lot of early advocacy work in terms of getting people signed up because this was the way to get legal. If you have a cause for medical cannabis, there are a lot of people who didn't want to talk to their doctors about it and who were operating illegally when they could very easily get a certification of a condition and transport their limited amount in a locked box in their car. They could cultivate at home. The most recent change allowed patients to both cultivate and go to a dispensary. So to some degrees it was sort of headed in the right direction. But right now there is there's a lot of talk in the community about patients dropping their cards. I'm very curious to see, and this has kind of been my own, from Greener Mountain Consulting standpoint, from the forward-facing to the public, I am in favor of anything that reduces penalties on people who are consuming cannabis. It's nothing anybody should be going to jail for. I'm fully in favor of legalization. What I am afraid of is the opportunity that this creates for either bad or illegitimate operators to come in and create a situation where they say, oh, see, we told you so, because there wasn't a tax and regulate framework set up. And I'm also concerned for the people who want to do smaller scale cultivation and who are looking, they don't want to be the Budweisers of the world, but they would like to cultivate at a, let's call it a profitable level.
Sure.
And I know that's something that's been discussed and that's on the table. It's
Well,
I think there's too much. There's a lack of clarity across the board.
Yeah. Well, and so there. God, that lack of clarity is an interesting topic, which I'll touch on a little bit. But I've been actively talking with some lawmakers about pushing this idea of S216 being a vehicle to start a medical cultivator license. Like you said, create a small-scale license for people to grow at a reasonable small scale where they can at least break even on the cost of utilities, and start selling regulated, tested medical marijuana to the dispensaries, who have indicated on record, I have the audio,
that they'd be willing to.
That they would be willing to. It makes their life a lot easier if they can buy wholesale from people, especially if they can buy wholesale from patients. I mean, that's the possibility here that I think the vision that's not being realized is that you could have patients who know what they're doing, and caregivers be able to make a living growing their own medicine and providing for others. So it's something that we're pushing on because in these other states, as you know, a lot of the recreational laws are informed by medical. And I will stand up for, the people who got this program off the ground. There were a lot of sacrifices that had to be made, I think, to make it happen. And I think if you asked a lot of them if they could go back in time, the Department of Public Safety, I always make the analogy, it's like, could you imagine if Vermont's dairy program was overseen by people who are all lactose intolerant?
Right.
That to me is the analogy of having the Department of Public Safety and law enforcement overseeing this program. So
you are aware of the Department of Liquor Control.
Yes. As you know, and Nick, you're somebody who used to run an establishment. I mean, you've probably got a lot of ideas for regulation, and you're the kind of person who should be involved in this as somebody who ran, who had multiple liquor licenses, knows about compliance, and, could apply those lessons to a much less harmful, safer substance.
Well, Eli, I would love for you to write my application to whoever's going to be receiving it, because that's a pretty solid plug right there.
I appreciate it. Well, hey, new GrassRoots, send the message. I'll confirm that it's been delivered, and I'll probably go down to the State House again this week and just check in on our friends down there, see how everybody's doing. So it's a great time. Everybody that calls ahead now, give me some ammo that I can bring down to Montpelier. And I will go and talk to your representative and senator and say, hey, Senator White, I don't know if you heard from this guy, Nick, who's down there. Are you in Windham or Windsor? One of those two.
I'm in Orange County.
Oh, you're in Orange. Okay. I don't know the East Coast, Go talk to your state senator and say, hey, I know you received this message from Nick. Did you have a chance to listen to it? No, it's in your email. I'll wait. Nick, thank you. I wanted to. I know we have. I want to get another call in here because I know we got another patient caregiver, and we'll switch it over to him. But Greener Mountain Consulting, I know that you talk to a lot of patients, caregivers, and appreciate what you do. I encourage people to check out Greener Mountain Consulting and stay in touch. We're going to be doing a lot more with NECAN soon. So big things happening with that.
Looking forward to that. Looking forward to working with you, and I thank you very much, Eli, for your time. Everybody, feel free to call in. Eli's a pretty easy guy to talk to.
Thank you very much. Well, you guys can see me. I'm not like, I'm on the phone with people all day long, and they don't know whether I'm making coffee, I'm sitting on the toilet, any of these things. So at least you've got my divided attention here, undivided attention. So, all right, Nick, thanks a lot for calling in. Best of luck, and we'll chat soon.
Thank you. Take care, brother.
All right, have a great one. All right, awesome. Our inaugural live call-in. Thank you very much to Nick from Greener Mountain Consulting for giving us a ring. I want to give a shout-out to people who I see popping in on the live stream. Hello to David. Hello to Tom. I saw Tom at the One-of-a-Kind event. If you were not there on Saturday, check out the pictures. It was a huge event. South End Arts and Business Association, SEBA. They did a glass show. It was put on by Sarah and Kurt from Stash and Stow. Many of you guys watching know them. Awesome glass shop. Go down there. Anything that you need. And they really got together a kick-ass lineup. I think they had like 50 different artists. And I got there at 6 p.m. when it started, and there was a line 100 people deep at least just to get in. So bringing functional art, bringing glass into this conventional like gallery setting, huge success. I know a ton of the pieces were sold. So big shout out to everybody who I saw there at that event, including Tom, who's watching. Shout out again to our friend Drew. Again, you guys like these shirts? They're available at rollingflower.com. I'm sure they'll go ahead and hop in and drop a link in there as well. Big hello to Eric. I know Eric's been calling his representatives, always staying involved over there. Eric, also champion of our first and so far only trivia night on weed. So a big shout out to Eric. When we do our next one, which will be in April, he's the champ that you're going to have to knock out. We are going to take a couple more calls here, and then we're going to talk about Heady, Vermont membership. We've got a lot of questions about membership, and we are ready to actually give you some answers. So if you're out there, you're watching, you're on the line, now's a great time to call in. That number is 802-391-0549. 391-0549. That is the number. If you have been at town meeting, if you have been talking to your representatives, if you have been calling your representatives, if you have something that you want to get off your chest, if you have a question about what's going on in Montpelier, I'm going to go ahead and get into the hemp topic here. And if you want to call in, we'll interrupt and get you in here. So again, 391-0549 to call in. We got a call right here. All right. All right, you are live with Heady, Vermont. If you could please share your name and where you're calling from.
Oh, I'm just hoping I won tickets to the Dead show.
You have reached the right number, my friend. The show is always on. I think this is our friend David from Southern. All right, David, thanks for calling in.
Yeah.
Much appreciated. And I will say we go to a lot of other shows. Our tastes are varied, and I will go ahead and admit, if you want to challenge me on my dead knowledge or fish knowledge, I will lose. If you want to talk about 90s hip hop, I will challenge anybody in 90s hip hop knowledge. But yeah, it's funny because I always feel naked when people bring up the dead and fish, and I'm like, I don't have that background.
But you grew up around in Winooski, right?
That's true. Winooski, my town. Yep.
And you never got into the fish scene?
I was too busy not smoking weed in high school.
Yeah, good.
You know, playing sports and all that. We just had a good comment. We had a comment in there from Tom Angel. I'm going to get to that afterwards because that's a great guy to have calling in. Thanks, Tom. David, I want to ask you. First, ask if you want to talk about saliva, MMJ, or hemp, and give you a chance to tell us a little bit about what your political concerns are, where you're calling from today.
So I'm down in the Newfane area, which is Wyndham, and my legislator, my rep, is she's pretty fabulous, pretty libertarian, Emily Long, and so I'm always quite comfortable when it comes to hemp or cannabis that she feels similarly as I do, which is to just kind of end prohibition and let's move forward. And of course I have Jeanette White and Becca Ballant, who also two more very smart women.
Yeah.
I think Becca in particular, I love checking in with her, and she just, I don't know if other people have the same experience as I do with my reps, which is I can text or I can call, and I hear back pretty quickly that they say we're happy to look into this and we'll get right back to you.
Well, that's great to hear. That's great to hear, David, because I know some do, and I think a lot of folks are intimidated. You know, and a lot of folks, if you have a one-on-one conversation with people, like I know you have, you realize they're humans, they realize you're humans. And it kind of takes the online anonymity out of it. And, you know, everybody can hear you're a low-key friendly guy, you know, who is probably making pretty reasonable points. And your senators both have been helping medical advance. And I wonder if you've had a chance to talk to them about saliva testing now that is going in front of the Senate.
I hate to say I haven't. I actually was a little surprised that it passed the House, and I didn't look which way Emily voted. But the truth is I just kind of figured that both Becca and Jeanette, as well as Emily, that they would be voting against that. And to me, it was a no-brainer. I'm kind of freaked out that it passed the House, truthfully.
Well, and this is how you know the fix was in, that there was a voice vote in the House. There was not a roll call. So
interesting.
The folks making that decision did not want everybody to have to be on the record supporting or opposing it. So,
yeah.
You know, when you see a bill like that you think is controversial and it moves through on a voice vote, there's usually some other stuff going on. And indications have been that the Senate will, you know, is not a fan of that bill. But
yeah.
we will see. You know, it's been law enforcement. It's been a long time coming. David, what do you think about, you know, CBD hemp in Vermont is pretty open right now. There's talk about the Agency of Agriculture being responsible for testing in the future. Any thoughts on the hemp program, or concerns,
sure.
or, you know, where do you see things going with that in the future as somebody who's paying attention?
So as I know you know, perhaps the listeners don't. I'm Vermont pre-rolls, and here I'm in my kitchen right now with one of my kids hanging out here doing work while I am rolling up these hemp joints. And both of my girls have questioned this move in my life and why I may or may not support it. And the truth is I'm not a big fan of smoking. I don't think people should be doing that. However, people enjoy it and they want to do that, and that's their own choice. And it's legal for me to do this. And I'm bummed that Tim Schmalz is gone from Department of Ag, and Sykes that carry Gigier has stepped in as an interim. I'm hopeful that whoever takes over Tim's spot at the hemp registry is going to also be similar in support of the program. I think Vermont hemp is huge for our state, and CBD production could be great and really make money for farmers again. And
well, and you've got a great, you know, I've seen your product. I actually just got it at Aeromed.
That's right.
In Montpelier the other day, and I'm recovering cigarette smoker, and I smoked a hemp, a CBD joint at a time when I might have smoked a cigarette instead. So
yeah, right on.
It was actually effective as a replacement. I know other people who have done that. So
yeah,
I think it's great. I wanted you to introduce yourself because I always feel a little questionable. I want to give out the free shout outs without blowing up anybody's spot. So Vermont pre-rolls, I mean, again, I've already endorsed it on Instagram using it. And I think you guys worked with, you're working with Vermont growers for that product.
Yeah.
Right?
So this is, this first batch, and actually the second batch, which is about to roll out as well, are both from Kyle at Creek Valley. And I know that, there are more pre-rolls that are on the scene as well now. I think John or John's partner through Just Grow It, they're making some as well. And so,
nice.
it's going to, competition is good. And, as much as I'm bummed I'm not the only one, it'll be good for everyone to have that happening. And I'd like to see these be available, not just at head shops or smoke shops, but also at just like, the gas station, that people could grab one if they want, kind of thing. And it's a different world that we're entering, that we're in now already. And hopefully it's just going to keep moving forward as long as all the politicians work accordingly.
Well, that's why I think it's great. We've got a lot of people involved, and hemp seems to be an easier topic, and because it is legal, in the state.
Well, and because of Senator Rogers, is even a part of the system, so obviously not everyone's against it.
That's right, and it's a great chance. I mean, we all had an awesome time at HempFest, and to have Senator Rogers in there, and he's a licensed cultivator. So I mean, we have a Vermont state senator who is a licensed hemp farmer, and I think that's very cool. And if you've ever met Senator Rogers, he is an awesome guy. And I know we were talking about seed even.
Right.
which was great. But you made a good point about Tim Schmaltz and the Agency of Agriculture overall.
Oh, so
the people
great.
who run, the people who oversee plants and agriculture, overseeing plants and agriculture has made a ton of sense. And
right.
we're
going
to miss Tim.
Question.
You know.
Yeah, and that was your question, which I didn't answer. I agree that Department of Ag. It may be that there are individuals there that feel like it's going to be a big job, et cetera, and maybe they don't want that. But the truth is that is of the groups in the state, they make the most sense. And whether or not Vermont ever gets to the point where we come up with a whole different group, commission, whatever it's called, to take over for future retail marijuana or medical or hemp or a combination. I feel like Department of Ag is the one that's ready right now. That would be best prepared for something like this.
Well, and we're fortunate to have them. And I know S216, there are parts of it that are positive. One thing it would have Agency of Ag doing not only hemp but medical marijuana and medical, infused products testing.
Right, testing.
That's an example of something for the bill that we want to keep in without killing the whole thing. And we'll see. So, David, thank you for calling in. I want to encourage people to check out pre-rolls. Where are a couple places people can find them on the shelf if they're in Vermont?
Burlington, most of the head shops up there, you could check in there. Montpelier at Aeromed, Stash and Stow down here in Brattleboro at a couple shops. Awesome. Most of the head shops essentially ask if they have them, and if they don't, well, then hopefully they would reach out and
ask
say,
why not.
Some more.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
David, thank you.
Have a good day.
Thanks for calling in, and thank you for being involved and following. We'll surely be talking soon, and we'll be doing something in your part of the state soon. So Stay tuned. Teaser for all of our friends down in the Southeast Corridor.
Great.
Awesome.
Take care.
Thanks, David. Have a great day. All right. Awesome. Check out Vermont pre-rolls. Actually, we'll do this in the future. The next live stream, I'll smoke a pre-roll on air so you guys can actually see this in action. We had a question in the comment section from Tom Angel. If you don't follow Marijuana Majority, I highly encourage you to do that. Tom is one of the best policy analysts, reporters, journalists in the whole country, and is the one breaking a lot of news out of Washington as well as in all these other states. So, Tom, thank you for checking in. Encourage people to check out marijuanamajority.net. So Tom asked the question in the comments, do we think that the Vermont Senate is going to make another attempt at tax and regulate this year in 2018? The answer, Tom, is that it's tough to say. As far as the Senate starting new legislation and kind of moving it through, there are a lot of people who would like to see that happen. And there is still a bill that's in the House right now, Bill H-490. So the House could take this bill, advance it through committee, and send it to the Senate. There is legislation that's in play and that could move. That's Bill H-490, which people can take a look at. It has kind of probably a good preview of what craft cultivation in Vermont might look like. Representative Sam Young up in West Glover is the person whose name is on this, and it would have 500 square foot licenses. So that legislation is still on the table. There is energy building to try and push it forward and see what kind of deals may happen. Something else that I would like to bring up that might be moving us forward towards tax and regulate, at least take an incremental step. The bill that's in play right now that the Senate passed, S216. This bill would give dispensaries more plants, add more qualifying conditions, move testing into the Agency of Agriculture. If that bill goes to the House Judiciary Committee, that's a committee who might theoretically add an amendment where we could have small medical cultivators. I've been saying this publicly and privately for a few months. The governor has been pretty clear that he will veto any tax and regulate law that comes across his desk. But we don't know if that's actually the truth. We know that there are a lot of moderate Republicans who maybe would vote to override that veto. The fact is that in the fall, we're going to know what Massachusetts numbers look like. And we're going to have probably a lot of people wondering why we didn't do stuff sooner here in Vermont and how we could maybe catch up to those states. So there will be a lot of political pressure in the fall. And there are a lot of folks who want to, get it to a vote. And even if the governor is going to veto it in 2018, let's start doing the progress and moving it further because we know how much time it takes. So to answer your question specifically, Tom, I think that the most likely tax and regulate components that we get through are going to be through the medical program. And I think that it's the basic question of increasing supply. So the first step of tax and regulate is going to be where the supply comes from, cultivators, testing, packaging, all that. We can start that licensing now. They can test it, they can package it, they can sell it wholesale to dispensaries who will then sell it to patients. So I think that's probably our best shot here in Vermont of making that progress. I say it privately, I'll say it publicly, and hopefully we'll be doing some angling behind the scenes and see if maybe we can get that included. So there's a lot of pressure, from people on the ground who it passed and they said, so why the heck aren't we going to take the next step? But the political reality is that one step at a time. So we shall see. Thank you, Tom, for checking in. And thank you for all the work that you do. Like I said, follow Tom Angel on Twitter, Marijuana Majority as well. People who jumped in the comments, shout out to Keith. Good to see you, my friend. Vermont pre-rolls, Scott just popped in and said they are in Manchester as well. So if you're over there in Bennington County, you can pop in there. I think what we will do next is we're going to wrap up with talking about what is Heady Vermont membership? What does it mean? And what would it actually look like? So we're going to move over to the board and describe it. But I first want to give you a look at one of our first Heady Vermont business members. There are individual members, and then we have business partners. They're all going to work together. I was in Montpelier last week, and I had the chance to stop into Aromed Aromatherapy, where I had a chance to talk to them and do a little video. So you can see where their store is, what they have, and if you are a Heady Vermont member for the month of March, you can walk in that store just like I did, and you can get 15% off anything in the store. So without further ado, this is from last week, Aromed Aromatherapy. Give you a look at the shop, talk a little bit about what they have, and show you the inside. Perfect.
Was it the other pre-roll one? Because that one isn't.
Oh, is that one not on the drive?
No, it isn't.
The Aromed member?
It is, but it's not downloading. It's just stuck at the scanning for viruses.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, 1 for 2. I can try to pop it in there again if we want and drop that in. All right. Well, let's in the meantime, I'll move over there and I can talk about the membership and then we can add it back in. All right. We back over? Good? All right, cool. So, what is Heady Vermont membership? How is this going to work? What are you going to get as an individual member? And how are businesses and partners going to work with us and all of the individual members? There are a few different things going on here, so I want to start with you as an individual. Why do you buy a Heady Vermont member card? Why do you become a member? 1, you support us, you support what we're doing. 2, you get this very real, tangible card. I know, sort of show it to you. High quality, and it says Heady Vermont member. As a Heady Vermont member, you are going to be entitled to certain privileges and benefits and discounts. You're special. We appreciate you helping us. We're going to support you, and we are all in this together as Heady Vermont members. So, first things first, you can go into our business partners, show your card, and get special discounts, special promotions, and maybe even in the future, special prizes. So if you're a Heady Vermont member right now, you can walk into Aromed Aromatherapy in Montpelier. You can pull out your card out of your wallet, and I've seen these in the wild, so I know they're out there. Go up there, and whatever you purchase will be 15% off for the month of March. So that's a pretty straightforward membership idea, right? If you're a member, you show your card, you get a discount, kind of like if you were AAA, something like that. As an individual member, you are a member, you also get access to special events. So you guys see that we've got our July 1st post-prohibition celebration. That is going to be a huge event. That's going to be free for you if you're a member. So if you've purchased a membership, come to this free. The live music, the seed and clone swap, all the demos, exhibition, all that's going to be free. We are in the future going to have other members-only events. And at all of our events, if we're charging something for people to show up, it's going to be either free or cheaper for you as a member. So another perfect example, on Sunday, we had CBD yoga. Thank you to Kathy. It was very relaxing. Called it Blue Dream Yoga. Members saved 50%. Sorry, 33% on that. So instead of being $15 for a yoga class, it was $10. So if you're a member, you sign up, go through the membership, and you only pay $10 for a class that includes a bunch of CBD. And we had a great time. So events, that's the next sort of step with membership. So you as a member right now, you have discounts at our partner businesses. I mentioned AeroMed. We'll see if we can get that video. Is it up? We have it going? Okay, so you can go and walk into AeroMed, show your card, and get 15% off through the month of March. If you want to walk into AeroMed and see what it looks like, we got the video queued up so you can see it's right there on State Street in Montpelier. You've been down at the State House raising hell, talking to your representatives. Now you need to go relax. You can go check out AeroMed and see their CBD selection.
Oh,
Here
hey
they are.
there.
Hey, how's it going?
Excellent. What are you guys up to here at AeroMed?
Just stocking our CBD Aromatics Relief Lotion, which is our top seller. Blend of essential oils, CO2 extracted CBD that's grown in Vermont, and also has arnica and white willow bark in it.
And since we're just popping in here, I noticed this shelf has gotten considerably larger since I started. You guys have been stocking CBD for a few years now, actually.
Yeah, we're probably
far
about
ahead.
like 2 years. So
Yeah.
we were largely ahead of the game, I would say.
New things I'm noticing, reproductive women's health shelf. We just had our Women in Weed event, so that is extremely on our mind.
This will be of interest then. Women's Aid, hormonal balancing, hormone modulating, CBD aromatics line.
Oh, okay.
It's actually the product that we get the most feedback on. I would call it probably more like love letters than feedback.
I've read the testimonials from like Whoopi and Maya, so I know that this is a huge, huge issue.
Yes.
And I see, scanning, we got
Oh, these are all of our essential oil products.
headaches. Okay, calm
But
and
we
sleep.
do have, this is our CBD aromatics line, which has the Women's Aid. We have the Head Aid blends, calming for the nervous system, sleep support, digestion, energy support. We're really like honing in on CBD and essential oil therapy together. That's really our spiel
Well,
here.
I am going to, after a long day in Montpelier, I think, try some of the
Calm Aid.
Calm Aid. I don't know if
Which
this
is-
is enough to deal with the State House, but we'll give it a
I
shot.
would say so. There's a powerhouse in this bottle. There's really a powerhouse in that bottle. So
Beautiful. Well, awesome to pop in here. We're just
Thanks for
in the
stopping
neighborhood.
by.
Yeah, I always love it. It is if you're gonna spend any time in Montpelier, always
Aromed.
need to come here, especially if you're in the State House. So
Aromed Aromatherapy is the place to be, I think.
beautiful.
I live here, so come visit me.
Excellent. Thank you. Done.
All right, and we are back. So again, that's a look at AeroMed Aromatherapy. Thank you very much to the ladies for letting us walk through and for having such an awesome selection of Vermont CBD products. Again, you take that member card into AeroMed, show it to them, and you're going to save 15% off everything in that store right now in the month of March. I want to now take it, while we had that going, we got a special guest who joined us. It is our friend Ben Brown of New GrassRoots. So you guys have seen the campaign. We've been talking about the campaign. Ben, thank you for joining us. How's your town meeting day been so far?
Hey, thanks for having me on, Eli. Good. I love it. The streets look empty, and just hope that it's because everyone is voting.
I think so. I think so. I mean, I was at the polls in Winooski, a little quiet. You know, it's not a presidential year. But one thing I noticed that the question of legalizing marijuana was no longer on the Doyle survey.
Oh.
Yeah. So another goalpost. Ben, I wanted to pop in, and I thought it'd be cool to get an update on our campaign and share a little bit, sort of percentages. We don't have to get into raw numbers, but I know that we had people who were signing up for New GrassRoots who have used this already and who have made calls to their representatives. So I'm wondering, do we know, give us a sense of maybe where people have called from or what representatives have been contacted. I started out the show by sending a message to Senator Tim Ashe. And,
great.
I will be probably hanging out and doing a bunch more on Instagram afterwards with the rest of our senators. But can you maybe give us a sense, as I know that this is data that you're not sharing with other third parties, but you've got a sense of our campaign and how many people have called to oppose 237. So who's been contacted, and have representatives been listening to their messages?
Yes. So I'm not in front of my computer right now to look at exactly who all has been contacted, but there's a variety, actually a pretty wide variety of legislators who have been contacted. Some in Chittenden County and some outside of Chittenden County. And we've actually had some positive feedback from legislators already who have received voice messages opposing H237 via New GrassRoots, via your campaign.
Really? So you've had representatives say, "Hey, we heard this message from New GrassRoots from Heady, Vermont."
Yeah. So actually, what happened is one of my friends who works in the State House heard from legislators about their receiving the message, and it's interesting because I think often people assume that legislators don't want, to be bothered by voters. But part of the feedback that I was told this legislator, offered was they're really interested in knowing what their constituents think. And they actually said, I wish more people would contact me like this.
Because it's a great way, for legislators, they get a snapshot of what people in town think, and it's only a minute, and it's not a confrontation, it's not an argument. It's for them, open up an email, and in 10 minutes can have 10 different voices from the community all sharing feedback.
That's right, exactly. So kind of some general data. We know that our messages, and again, just to give a recap for folks on how it works, you go to newgrassroots.com, you sign up for an account, you enter the bill, you support it or oppose it, you designate a legislator, and then you record a 1-minute voice message, and our system sends that legislator an email that contains a link to the audio file. So they actually receive the voice message via email. So in terms of measuring their engagement, kind of our three main criteria are, did we make it to their inbox? Was the email itself opened? And then did they click the play button to listen to the actual voice message? So we know that we have 100% delivery rate. So all of the New GrassRoots emails are getting into the legislative inboxes.
And that in itself is great, because if I call, if I click a random link or send an email, I'm not really going to get a receipt. I don't necessarily know that even my message has been delivered.
Exactly. And there's a ton of, plausible deniability on the part of a legislator to say, hey, I don't remember that specific email. I don't know if it came through or not, or, to kind of skirt the issue if they so choose to do that. So we New GrassRoots eliminates a lot of that wiggle room. And it kind of comes down to more just the raw numbers of how many people called you and, Mr. or Mrs. Legislator, what's your response to these constituents that have contacted you? So we know the messages are getting to the inbox. We currently have over 90% open rate. So that is legislators clicking on the email to open the email. Now, to give a little bit more context, the way our emails work is in the subject line, we tell the legislator essentially all the pertinent data. Eli Harrington called you to oppose H.237. So they could look at just the subject line without even opening the email and be informed. If they open the email, they can see the caller's email address and phone number in case they want to respond directly.
Which is a great, which that's going to be the next step, right? When we know that we've got when we know that representatives are not only listening to the messages, but they're calling you back and saying, hey, I got your voicemail, Eli. And you brought up some great points about, why we should license medical cultivators in 2018.
Right. And, this is interesting because some feedback that I've heard from legislators, I actually had a legislator who really enjoys listening to these voice messages through New GrassRoots because we are respectful of their time by capping messages at 1 minute, and it is a personal communication, so it's not just some generic, message. But one legislator asked me if we could give them the ability to record their own voice message
and send it back.
And send that back out to every constituent that had contacted them on that particular bill.
Wow.
So that's the type of thing that we're moving towards. So you hit on a good point. Currently, it's kind of a one-way street. Constituents telling legislators what they think about specific legislation. The next step is really creating more of a feedback loop between legislators and constituents. Now, one of the reasons for that is because legislators sit through expert testimony, and they may be privy to information that normal voters don't have access to. Now, if we can create a scenario where legislators can actually help educate their constituents, that may actually impact how constituents think about an issue. And then that in and of itself will lead toward better representation overall.
Right. And I think, like you said, you're just opening up those channels. I mean, we heard from David earlier from Vermont Pre-Rolls. He's got a relationship with representatives. He knows them; they know him. If you're somebody who doesn't have that relationship, this is a way for you to open up a channel of communication. Then maybe you see each other at the coffee shop. You go introduce yourself in person, and it's kind of taking that next step. So I think, even just from that pure standpoint of, you give people a way to meet without being confrontational. It's almost like why Tinder, works. You're using technology to connect those people directly and open up the line of communication. There is no sending picture function on New GrassRoots yet, but maybe in the future.
Yeah, so that's another thing that we're looking at.
Snapchat me your vote.
Well, we have a backlog of all these feature requests. And one of them is the ability to attach, to include attachments. And that's because often when somebody makes an assertion to their legislator, they want to support that with evidence. So allowing people to attach like an article or resources to the email that legislators receive, we think that's really interesting as well.
You're giving them even a little more.
Exactly. It's, it increases the impact of your voice if you can actually justify why you think something.
That's a great point. Well, Ben, I'm gonna be doing a lot more grassroots throughout the New GrassRoots throughout the rest of the day, and I want to encourage people to, especially with the saliva testing, contact their senators. The campaigns are live. We are going to do another update, and I am going to I'm going to move over and talk about Town Meeting Day 2019 and what we're going to be talking about a year from today over in the other set. So I encourage people, check out newgrassroots.com, and especially whether cannabis is your primary issue or not, if you're involved with another organization, they can be using this to drive phone calls about water quality, about firearms regulations, about property taxes, about filling your potholes. All of these things, New GrassRoots it's a tool, not just for cannabis policy, for everybody, and for you, the individual. So, Ben, thank you, and keep up the awesome work, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Eli.
All right. Have a great one.
Bye.
All right. We'll wrap up today. Back over at the whiteboard. A few topics. So, we're going to look into our crystal ball and talk about Town Meeting Day 2019. Massachusetts is already going through all this, so we can see what some of the local issues are. And a few things that we'll talk about, one, to set the stage, local control. Whatever the state passes as a state law, your local government is going to have to allow. As far as businesses, that's the first big thing. Zoning. So just because there are going to be, let's say, 20 retail outlets in Vermont in next year that may get licenses to sell over the counter, right? This is assuming that tax and regulate happens. Let's say that there are 20 licenses throughout the whole state. Each town is going to have to approve that license, that location, right? So if your town wants, as we've seen in Massachusetts, they can just say no. And your town could pass a moratorium, could be a 1 year, could be a 2 year, could be indefinite. And they could say, we're not going to have any legal cannabis businesses. No medical, no tax, no nothing. They could do that. Some of these towns are going to do that and say no. I wouldn't be surprised to see more conservative places in maybe like Milton, maybe someplace like Newport, and also more liberal places that have concerns, somewhere like Shelburne maybe. So we don't know, but that's going to be a major issue. And next year at Town Meeting Day 2019, I think that some towns are going to be talking about whether or not they want to allow for these businesses to exist. Another one is going to be the types of business that your town will allow. Because again, none of them are going to exist unless your town gives them permission. If there's a state license, it's going to go to an applicant that has local agreement. So are they going to allow for medical only? There are only 2 more dispensaries coming online in the next year, probably. So not a huge factor, but your town could say that. Your town could say no dispensary, right? They might not want to have a retail shop where people are coming in and buying. Your town could say yes, but. This is the smartest answer. Your town says, yes, we would host a cannabis business, but we have specific conditions, namely money or tax revenues. This happened in Springfield, Massachusetts. It will probably happen here. And if your local government is smart and is being proactive, then they are probably already thinking about ways that they can add a local option tax. And maybe you live in a city like Burlington, which has got terrible pothole problems, and maybe you want pot money for potholes. So maybe the next mayor of Burlington, whoever that's going to be, and all the city councilors decide that Burlington is going to welcome legal cannabis shops. We are going to charge a 1% tax on top of what the state charges, and then we're going to take that 1% tax and we're going to fill in all these potholes on Pine Street, on Colchester Ave, on North Ave, and everywhere else in this city that's currently eating cars whole. That's a scenario that could happen. That argument that I just gave you, that's something that I mentioned it to Moreau, something that you could talk about with your local officials, city council, select board, city manager, town manager, mayor, whatever you've got going on. Town Meeting Day 2019, it's going to get into a lot of these discussions. People who are opening cannabis businesses want to know what towns are friendly, what towns are going to be difficult, what towns are just going to say, hell no. So they're all thinking about that now. They're looking for locations, whatever the businesses may be. And so it's a good time to get this conversation started at the local level, because next year you are going to be talking about this at your town meeting day. That brings our Town Meeting Day 2018 coverage to a conclusion. Thank you to everybody that called in. shout out again to Rolling Flower for these lovely t-shirts. Big thank you to our hosts here at Jam Creative. Follow them at Jam Creative. We've got a ton of stuff going on, sharing this lovely space with us. And a shout out to our sponsors for this episode, Iaso Goods. You guys saw that beautiful grinder. Maybe we'll play that clip one more time on the way out. A lovely Iaso video. And a shout out to Aeromed, our initial business partners and members who are offering a discount all March. So show your Heady Vermont member card, become a member if you're not already, bring that into Aeromed and get 15% off. In the meantime, we will be back next week with another live stream. Stay tuned for more events. Thank you.